This movie absolutely destroyed me and made me feel emotions I didn't even know existed. It's also my favorite zombie movie ever made. Let's do it. This is a Korean movie, so I'm really sorry if I butcher some of these names. I'm going to try my best. The movie opens up and we meet our main character, Suk-woo, or Suk-woo, I don't think you pronounce the W. He's a businessman, he's super engrossed in his work, and we learn that he is divorced and he has an estranged daughter named Soo-an. We'll call her Sue. So her father watches a video of Sue trying to sing Aloha Oi at a recital, but she ends up getting stage fright, partially because he's not present, which is kind of a theme. So that makes him kind of feel guilty, and he knows that for her birthday she wants to spend it in Busan with her mother, so he's like, alright, you know what, I'll take her to Busan. So the two of them go to the train station and they get on the train to Busan. Some of the other passengers on this train include Sang-hwa and his pregnant wife Seong-kyung. They also have Yeon-suk, who might be my most hated character ever, early spoiler alert, like literally in the history of cinema. We also have a whole high school baseball team. We have a couple of elderly sisters who are traveling together. These are the sisters. There's also a homeless guy who we see is stowing away in the bathroom. Now, unbeknownst to all of the passengers, before the train takes off, there is an infected woman who jumps onto the train and attacks one of the attendants. So again, this is a zombie movie, so she bites the attendant, and now the attendant starts biting people, and it's just like rapidly spreading through the train. All the people I just mentioned are in the same car, and they obviously know that something's up, and they all escape into the next car. As they're doing that, they're all now seeing news reports and getting phone calls that there's this epidemic that's spreading throughout Seoul. So they stop at the next station and they're all like, okay, we gotta get off the train. But when they do that, they very quickly learn that the city has been overtaken by zombies and they are all attacked in the station. It's absolute panic, and there's a scene where Suku watches this guy and doesn't try to help him. But Sang-hwa ends up coming to his rescue and they're like, dude, fuck you. So Suku starts off kind of selfish. He doesn't really care about anybody but himself and his daughter, which I don't entirely blame him. So anyway, they all end up escaping the zombies in the station and they have no option but to get back on the train, but in the chaos now the group is split up among different cars. And then the conductor announces that they are setting for Busan because the military has established a quarantine zone there. So again, during the chaos, everybody got separated. So Seong-kyung is now with Sue, the daughter, and Sang-hwa and Sue's father are trying to get to them. So it's the two of them and then one of the kids from the baseball team. And they have to fight through a bunch of fucking zombies to do so. Super tense. Sang-hwa's smart and he wraps his arm so that he can't get bit when he's trying to knock them off. And they end up getting to them and they all regroup. But then they still have to continue through another horde of zombies to get to the front of the train where all of the other passengers are. Meanwhile, they don't know this obviously because they're not there, but where all the passengers are, Yeon-suk convinces the train attendant that they can't let anybody else in because he's a selfish motherfucker. This is the most emotional scene in horror cinema, possibly in cinema period. So they get to the front of the train, but again, the rest of the passengers aren't letting them in, and now there's a whole zombie horde behind them and they're starting to break down the door. So the father and Sang-hwa are holding the door with the zombies while the others are trying to break into the car with the rest of the passengers. So you have one of the baseball guys and one of the sisters. Meanwhile, in the train with the passengers is the other sister and the baseball guy's girlfriend, and they're trying to open the door, but everybody else is not letting them. It's absolute fucking chaos. And Sang-hwa looks at the father as his pregnant wife is watching this happen, and he's like, take care of her and go. And he fucking sacrifices himself to save everybody. I'm literally gonna start crying. Because that's not the worst part, because as he's about to get eaten alive by these zombies, he looks at his pregnant wife and says, Yoon-soo, that's gonna be our daughter's name. Pour one out for Sang-hwa. So that gives them time to force open the door, but not before the sister is killed in front of her other sister who has to watch. So now these fucking losers are like, well, how do we know you guys aren't infected? Get away from us. You have to isolate yourselves. The people who just came in get into the vestibule, but the sister who just watched her other sister be killed is so fucking disgusted that she's like, fuck you people. And she presses a button and lets all the fucking zombies in to take all these assholes out. But of course, these two are somehow the only ones to escape. I fucking hate this man. So the train continues on, but of course the track ends up being blocked. So that forces the rest of them to get off and find another train. And Yeon-suk ends up escaping the zombies by pushing the train attendant in front of them. Which, fuck this guy too, but I can't. So again, everybody's off the train now exposed, and all of a sudden a train flips over. And it traps Sue, her dad, and Seong-kyung under a carriage. Meanwhile, Yeon-suk sacrifices yet another person to survive. This time it's the girlfriend from the baseball team. And her boyfriend, being so heartbroken, just sits there with her as she turns into a zombie and kills him. He just fucking takes it because honestly, what else do you do at this point? So Yeon-suk is now injured, but he and the conductor end up getting to another train where the train conductor tries to help him because again, he's injured. And he then proceeds to throw the conductor who just saved his ass to the zombies too. So now this guy's body count is like higher than the fucking zombies. He's the real villain of the story. So they end up getting out from underneath the carriage, but then they run into this like debris that's blocking their escape route. The zombies are getting closer. It's all super intense, but then the homeless man who is with them sacrifices himself to buy them time. And it works. So now Sue, her father, and Seong Kyung are able to get onto the new train. But the zombies just keep fucking coming in hordes. They're trying to fight them off, but they're all like clinging onto the train, which is then weighing it down. And if that's not bad enough, the only person on this train now is Yeon Suk, aka the real villain, who has now been bit by a zombie and is turning. So a fight ensues between him and the father, and he ends up biting him. But he manages to successfully throw off Yeon Suk and finally fucking save the rest of everybody from his tyranny. But again, he's bitten. So he locks Seong Kyung and his daughter in the engine room to protect them from him when he inevitably turns. And he says goodbye to Sue. I'm literally crying. And the final scene we get of him is him turning as he's having these like beautiful flashbacks of her as a baby and just like all the time that they spent together. And he smiles and accepts his fate and jumps off the train. So now it's just the two of them left. They almost make it to Busan, but they hit yet another block track. So they get off and now they're walking down the train tracks through this tunnel. Now we see the military at the other end of this tunnel with their guns up ready to shoot whoever is coming through because they're assuming that they're turned. And us as an audience is watching this and we're like, did they really just get through all of this to be shot by the fucking military? But then all of a sudden they hear singing, and it's Sue sobbing and singing Aloha Oi in tribute to her father. And they lower their guns and take them to safety. The end.